Welcome to the Rinkside Rundown podcast, showcasing the incredible women's hockey players from around the world through compelling interviews and discussions alongside your host, Chris Sinclair. Hello and welcome back to the Rinkside Rundown podcast. Today, I'm joined by Marianne Picard, a forward with the University of Wisconsin Badgers. Marianne, welcome to the show. How are you doing?
Thank you, Chris. I'm good. How are you?
I'm great, thanks. Even better now that we actually finally get to sit down and chat. This has been a long time coming, so I'm super excited about this.
Me too.
Good. I'm glad. Let's dive right in. And what's become one of the many traditions on this show is learning a little bit about what got you into hockey, what started, what was that initial oh man, I just love hockey. What was that? What started that fire in you?
So my dad actually played hockey, and then I have an older brother, and I feel like a lot of girls that got into hockey is because of their brother. And so my dad played hockey, and then my brother actually started playing football. So I started playing football, and then he switched to hockey. So I started playing hockey because I wanted to be like my older brother. And then I had to pick between football and hockey, and obviously as a girl, I I picked hockey. But yeah, that's what got me into it. A big hockey family, big hockey family, and my cousins play. Everybody plays.
Okay,
so I kind of grew up into it.
Yeah. So what was it like to first lace up those skates, hit the ice, especially as you were looking at? And you're right. There are a lot of stories where it's it may be a father, it may be it's a cousin or something like that, but more often than not, I'm hearing that it's often like the older brother is out skating on the ice, and you're just like, I want to do that. But what was it like to lace up those skates for the first time and hit the ice?
Oh, it was actually pretty special. I remember my dad used to bring me and my brother to free skate, it was called, at our little rink, and we would just skate in circles for hours. And I remember loving it so much. And my brother would always want to get off the ice, and I always wanted to stay. That's one thing my dad always tells me. He's like, I knew you were in love with the sport because you wanted to keep skating in circles, and my brother just wanted to leave and go home.
So you didn't need any extra motivation to do that extra lap or whatever.
No, I loved it. They actually thought about putting me into speed skating because I just loved skating so much. Yeah.
So was that something that you ever thought about? Even just to supplement your hockey?
I know I've thought about it, but I'm very social, and so I just love the team aspect of playing hockey.
Okay, that's fair. Yeah. Yeah. But that's one of the reasons why a lot of people just in general love to get into the sport of hockey is that it's not just about you, right? It's about your teammates. And especially, and we're going to get into this, but especially as someone like yourself who is in their first year at Wisconsin, making that change, again, it's still everyone comes in with that same, team mentality. It isn't just about you, it's about connecting with everyone around you. Is that something that you kind of got the feeling of, especially early on in your hockey career?
Yeah, I used to love, I would show up to the rink maybe 4 hours before. I remember my dad, I would make him come to the rink early just so I could just walk around in the hallways and talk to everyone. And after the game was done, I would linger for hours and he would just wait for me in the lobby. I just loved being at the rink, and I just loved the hockey community so much. Yeah, so I knew hockey was my calling for sure.
Well, and I think that provides us a good segue into maybe what were some of you've kind of shared some of them, but what were some of your initial or favorite memories early in your, especially early on? We can get into what are some of those cool memories that you've been making more recently, but early on in your career, what were some of those early memories that you had specifically, and around hockey, but it could be either on the ice or off the ice?
For sure the free skate, which is where I learned to skate, but my family, every Christmas, we would go to this outside pond and we would play hockey. So I think that's probably my earliest hockey memory. And then I have a funny one that's not related to anything on the ice, but one time I was at the rink with my brother was also playing at that time, so we both were practicing, and my parents miscommunicated, and they drove my brother home, and then when my dad got home, my mom was also home, but they left me at the rink. And then when they showed up, I didn't even notice. I was just with the players, just chatting. I didn't even notice that my parents forgot me at the rink for like at least 2 hours. Yeah. So that's a hockey memory, not related to like hockey, but that like always sticks with me.
But I think that that kind of further that first of all, that's hilarious. But
Yeah.
I mean, maybe not in hindsight for your parents, but
Yeah, they were so mad at each other.
yeah. But I think that further emphasizes exactly what you were saying around, you were born to be at the rink. Like you
Yeah,
didn't even
yeah.
notice that your parents like
I
that
know.
no one was there. You were just like, oh, I don't care. Like I love hanging around the rink anyway. So
Yeah.
you probably weren't even like, oh, I wonder where everyone is.
I
You
know,
just
I
like
didn't even
did it.
notice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's hilarious.
Yeah.
You've mentioned it a couple of times here, but family obviously,
Mhm.
I mean, despite the fact that they forgot you once, but family
Yeah.
has been
Small detail.
yeah, family has clearly been played a huge
Mhm.
impact on your career, and I think one of the things that goes relatively unnoticed or maybe unrecognized is just the amount of support that you get when it comes to playing hockey from your family. We could talk about financially. That's definitely a big one. It
My
isn't
God.
yeah, it isn't an
So
inexpensive
bad.
sport.
Yeah.
Yeah. But it's also, having to invest the time and getting you to and
Mhm.
from practices, to and from games. Also making sure that they actually show up at some of these games to cheer you on, you
Oh my
know?
God.
Um,
And oh,
to
as I
you,
get older, like I notice it even more. Like they had a 9 to 5. Like they only had 2 days off a week, and they would spend their 2 days off at the rink. Like, oh, yeah. And there's a story about that actually. Wait, did you have a question? Did I
no,
cut you off?
you're, the
Okay.
good news is you're already answering it. So just keep going.
Um,
So no worries, no worries.
Talking about sacrifices, there's a story. It's crazy, but during COVID, Quebec was like pretty bad. I think Quebec was like the worst province, which is where I'm from. And like you couldn't get out of your house, like you couldn't go skate. But Ontario was getting better. So some ice was opened in Ontario. So my dad drove 6 hours. I skated for an hour and we drove back 6 hours. So my dad drove 12 hours just for me to be able to skate for 1 hour. So I feel like since that day, like I'm so thankful and like that proved how like he is willing to do anything for me. Like, oh yeah, we always laugh about this. Like, oh yeah, that was a good one.
Yeah, absolutely. But I think that's like a perfect example of the sacrifices that family make, right? Like to ensure that you get to do what you love most. You skated for an hour, and
I don't
he had to drive 12 hours, and he's just like, you know what? At least she got to skate for an hour.
I know. Oh, because like yeah, I hadn't skated in months and he was like, if it's gonna make her happy, I'd do anything. And he did do like drive 12 hours. But yeah.
So, not to get too far ahead of ourselves, but especially now as your career has continued, you're attending. This is as I mentioned earlier, first season in Wisconsin. What does it mean to you to kind of now look back? You're a little bit older, you're a little bit
Mhm.
wiser, you're a little bit more mature, and now you get to look back and what does it mean for you to look back and kind of see, without their support, you wouldn't be where you are. What does it mean to you to kind of reflect on that?
Wait, actually, sorry, it's my fourth year at Wisco. Sorry, I just noticed. I'm a senior.
Oh, you're a senior.
Yeah, yeah,
Perfect.
yeah.
Great.
No, no. Well, I'm a junior. Yeah, I'm a junior because I redshirted my freshman year. But yeah,
Okay. Okay.
but yeah.
So now that you're there, like what does it mean for you to be able to look back on your career and
Mm.
know that they had this amount of an impact on you?
Oh, I'm so thankful, and I'm glad that now they can kind of like let go. It's like they've done their job. Now they can just watch me enjoy my sport from home, like sitting on the couch. So I feel like they're probably relieved right now, but I'm so thankful for them. And they still come to almost all my games, which is crazy. But I always make sure to call them and keep them updated because I'm so grateful for them.
Yeah, absolutely. And especially as you've continued your career, to be able to still have them, coming out to games and stuff like that, that
Yeah,
must
I
mean so much.
know.
Like it isn't like, oh, we'll just drive down the street to the local rink. That's a pretty
No,
like that's a
it's like
commitment that you have to go through,
like
right?
we'll catch a flight to see you play
Yeah.
for like maybe like 20 minutes of ice time. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah.
So I guess, as we kind of continue throughout your career,
Mhm.
um, do you have like what are some of your favorite stories about your trips to and from the rink with your family?
Oh, I have some bad ones, obviously. Like the car ride back home after a bad game is always pretty bad. But um my dad was actually my coach growing up. So I remember taking the bus, like the team coach bus, and going to tournaments with him and spending like so many nights at hotels with him, playing mini sticks in the hallway with him. Like I feel like hockey brought like this relationship with my parents, it made it so much better. Like I don't think I would be as close with my parents without hockey. But now my mom was like the most like the school side and my dad was like the hockey side. So me and my dad are very, very close because of hockey and because he was coaching me growing up. Yeah. But I think us two being in hotel rooms and like driving together is definitely my favorite like memory I have with him.
Just to be
Yeah.
able to kind of connect with them and like,
Yeah, and just talking for hours because back then, like, I didn't have a phone, so I would just talk with him for hours about hockey, life, anything, and yeah, I miss it actually.
well,
I
I
took it for granted, yeah.
yeah, absolutely. And I was going to say that long car ride, that 12-hour car ride, that would there was a
Like,
lot of
what
time to
did we
talk there.
talk about?
Yeah,
Like,
yeah, yeah. Yeah,
oh,
somehow you found stuff to talk about for 12
I
hours.
know.
Yeah, yeah. I also want to know, and I guess now, especially with your time at Wisconsin,
Mm,
like what does it mean to you throughout your career to also, and I just love the family side of things. So that's why I'm kind of leaning
I
into
know,
it a
me
little bit
too,
right
me
now.
too.
Good, I'm glad. Um, what does it mean to you to be able to play the game that you love, and especially now that your collegiate career has continued, to also look up in the stands and see your parents there and hear and know that they're there cheering you on, and that they had to make that flight out to see you. What does that mean to you?
Oh, it's so special. I have a story with that too, but it's so special because my dad, his career-ending injury was a tore ACL. He tore his ACL, which is so ironic because I tore my ACL twice. So I feel like in a way he sees himself in me, and that goes with the story. So my first game at Wisconsin, they flew, and my dad is so emotional, and he comes from like a very like tough like background. Like my grandma dropped out of like second grade, my grandpa died like very early, so my dad had like a very hard upbringing. So him seeing me living my dream is very emotional for him. And I remember my first game, the national anthem was playing, and I know where he was sitting, and I remember looking at him, and he was just bawling, 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 and my mom was there, and my brother was there, and I think that moment is something I'm forever gonna remember, and it was so special for my family because it was like we made it. Like I made it, he made it out of wherever he was from, he made it out of the and now his daughter gets to live like his dream. Like that was his dream and that was my dream. And it was so special. I'm getting emotional talking about it, but oh, I it was so special.
Yeah, and it's those kinds of, I don't know about you, but I feel like now I'm not a hockey player, but I can only extrapolate from that. Like I started to get like energized by knowing that, I have somebody in the stands that's like they know what
Yes.
I'm going through. They know both the highs and the lows,
They've
and
seen it
they're
all, yeah.
yeah, they've seen it all, and they just want me to be successful. And
Oh,
I think, maybe living vicariously through you just a little bit, which is
yeah.
totally fine. Just a
Oh
little bit.
yeah.
Yeah,
All parents do it. All parents do. It's
yeah,
fine.
yeah, and that's totally fine. And that's totally fine. But to just kind of like to be able to have that sort of support system in place,
Oh
that
my
must
god.
just be
Yeah.
incredible.
Oh, that game was probably one of the best of my life. you play with just so much emotion, knowing that like they're your biggest fan. Like they've put their lives on the like aside for you. It's like you're playing for something more.
Mm.
Like when I play, I think about my parents, I think about my brother, I think about them, and I'm like they would be proud of me right now, and that gives you so much energy. Like even to come to the rink every day, I'm just like, oh, like I'm so grateful. I'm so happy to be here. Like because it's like so many people helped me get here. Like the least I can do is give it my best and like show up with energy. Like
Do you think that also, I think I already know the answer to this question, but I'll ask it anyway. But do you think that also helps with how you approach your off season, like your training and stuff like that,
Mhm.
knowing that you have, these people who are rooting for you, all that sort of stuff, people living vicariously through you, as we've mentioned. Do you
Yeah.
think that, that kind of adds not pressure, but motivation, probably a little bit
Yeah,
of
for
pressure, but
sure.
a
Yeah.
lot of motivation for you?
A little bit of pressure, but yeah, my parents never put pressure on me, yeah, but it definitely helps staying motivated, like and I hate when people show up to the rink not in the good mood or, like, not energized. It's like, "We're so lucky to be here,"
Mm.
and, like, so many people have worked with us, and, oh, they just want us to do good, like, the least we can do is, yeah, give it our all. Yeah, motivation is yeah, I don't need more motivation, I'm pretty motivated, yeah.
Yeah, I can already tell,
Yeah.
which is great. It's great.
Yeah.
Talking about your hockey career, especially
Mm.
now that we've established I can't read and misread the how long you've been at Wisconsin.
No,
Turns
you're
out it's
good.
not her first year.
You're
Whoopsie.
good.
But could you talk maybe for fans out there that haven't maybe had the opportunity to see you play, um,
Mhm.
that will absolutely get to see you play one day?
Oh,
And
yeah.
yeah, there it is. Could you talk a little bit, like give yourself your own scouting report?
'Kay. It definitely has changed since coming to Wisconsin because, I mean, we have so many star players, but in high school, I was like the goal scorer, pretty shifty, but now I'm more of like a third line center, like a reliable center. I win my faceoffs, I play good in the D zone. I think I have a good hockey IQ. I think I make great passes. So I think that's my scouting report, and I think I'm pretty fast.
Okay. So you mentioned it, but what went into that shift from high school to Wisconsin?
Oh, I embraced it for sure. I knew coming in, I mean, Wisconsin is one of the best, like, is the top program, like, right now. Like, I knew my role was gonna change. I didn't know what it was gonna be, but I knew, and my parents, they prepared me, like, it's gonna change, but I knew it was gonna change, and I was ready for it to change. I was like, whatever you give me, I'll do it. And it has changed over the years. Like, my freshman year, I tore my ACL. Year after, didn't play much, was on the fourth line, and my role has changed every single year, but I've embraced it. And if it changes this year, then I'll embrace it and I'll do it as best as I can. But yeah, definitely last year was third line center, reliable, good D zone. Yeah,
Good, good.
plays. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. And those are exactly the kind of players that, regardless of what league you're looking at, those are the kinds of players that teams like. I wouldn't say it's easy to find top end talent, but it's much more challenging to find that
Yeah.
talent that can also play an effective, third line, fourth line
Because
role, right?
because if your third and fourth line are unreliable and they get scored on, then you're not better. Even if
Yeah.
your star players are scoring 20 goals, if
Yeah.
you let in 30, yeah, you're losing. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely. And especially on the defensive side of the game. So it's great
Yeah.
to hear that's something, especially in a third line role.
Yeah, I take pride in
That's
my D zone, yeah.
good. I'm glad. Do you think that has always been a part of your game, or do you
Oh
think
my
that's
god.
just been more so since you went to Wisconsin?
No, since Wisconsin, in high school, my D zone was so bad, and so many coaches have tried to, like, teach it to me, but I just wanted to score so bad, but I come into college, like, I had to mature and be like, "Okay, like, if you wanna play, like, you're gonna have to, like, care about your D zone." But
Mm.
in high school, I didn't care as much, yeah, which was pretty bad.
Just wanted to score the goals.
I just wanted to score the goal, yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. That's
But
that's
now I'm better, now I'm
yeah,
better.
yeah. It's a little
I'm
bit more balanced out, eh?
yeah.
Yeah, that's fair. Well, and you've mentioned it a couple of times, but obviously, unfortunately, you've had some injuries in throughout your career. Um, I know that's not necessarily something that you that a player enjoys talking about, but
Yeah.
I think is fascinating, and I think is something that we're starting to see a lot more of a discussion around more recently now is, it's about that, mental health, or it's about that mental perspective, and how you take something that is really, really challenging, like an injury, and still stay motivated, inspired. Again, there are going to be ups and downs, but you stay, for the most part, positive.
Yeah.
How do you, like, I guess, first of all, what was it like for you to go through those injuries and to find a way to stay positive?
Oh, it was hard, honestly. My second one was by far the hardest. Like my freshman year of college, like you're not established like in the team, like you're still trying to figure out yourself, like just trying to make friends. It was very hard. But one thing I did, like I showed up to every single practice, and I think the girls really appreciated that. And every practice, I sat on the bench and watched the whole thing, and I would cheer them on. And I think that made it better. That helped me get like looking at them practice, like gave me the motivation to be like, okay, like it'll be me one day, like it'll be okay. And I feel like going through it twice, I knew what it took, and like I knew I was gonna get to where I was eventually. But it's definitely like such a long process because so once you get injured, takes you a year to get back on your skates, but it takes you another year to get back to hockey shape. Like hockey shape is like nothing else. Like you can run, you can bike, you can work out, but nothing prepares you for hockey shape. So I feel like every time I got injured, it's as if like for the next 2 years, I was gonna have to work hard and get back to where I was. So like for 4 years of my life, it was just like trying to get back to where I was, and it was so hard. But I'm so glad like it's done, and I'm so glad I did it. And part of it too, I feel like getting injured like forced me to kind of be like, okay, like who am I as a person? Like what do I like to do outside of hockey? And I feel like without those injuries, my life would just be like hockey, hockey, hockey. But then after those injuries, like I've made other friends that aren't related to hockey. I got a job. Like I put more work into my schoolwork. I got hobbies, and I feel like those injuries, as bad as they were so helpful for my development. And I'm grateful they happened to me, and I don't think I'd be who I am without those injuries. Sorry, that was like a big rant.
No, that's great. That was perfect. And it was one of those, but this is what it's about, right? Like, yeah, it's great to be on the ice, and obviously you don't want to be injured, but I do
Yeah.
feel like there's a part of everyone's game that maybe is elevated once you have to overcome an obstacle, once you have to overcome a hurdle, then you can have that opportunity to be like, redefine yourself or
Yes.
come back even stronger. So it kind of got me thinking, as you were sitting on the bench,
Mhm.
watching the practices, and being there for your teammates and all that sort of stuff. Did you look at what drills they were doing, and how they were doing it, and thinking to yourself, oh, now that I can zoom out and I can see it from the outside, this is maybe how I can approach these drills in my game a little bit differently?
Oh my God, yes. Like being injured and watching, like changed my perspective of hockey. Like I feel like most people when they watch hockey, they just watch the puck. But when I was injured, I kind of like was able to look at the whole picture, and hockey just made more sense now. Like I feel like my hockey IQ definitely developed when I was injured. Like I wish everybody could get injured at least like for a little bit just so they could watch from a like I feel like it was very helpful to my game. Yeah, for sure. And I feel like that's why my D zone got better too when I got to college because I was hurt and I was able to be like, "Oh, like this is what like we're supposed to be doing." Like and I was able to learn the system like like this. And now like any questions about the system I know by heart because I've watched so many games, you know?
Yeah,
Yeah.
and especially, I think it's one thing when you're watching playback of a game, especially when you're
Yeah.
playing the game and you're watching tape or whatever, and you're saying
You
like,
probably just
oh,
watch yourself.
yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. And like that's good and everything, but like being there live, but being able to take that step back, at least
Yeah.
for me, feels like it would be because you're seeing it right in the moment, and
Mhm.
you're seeing how you can approach the game a little bit differently, which I feel like people talk about hockey IQ and how important hockey IQ is.
Yeah.
Again, I'm not a hockey player, but I live vicariously through all these hockey players. But to me, I say, if I could zoom out and I could watch, not even just myself play, but my teammates practice play, that I would understand the game differently, and that would
Yeah.
help my hockey IQ. And then when I hit the ice, now
Yes.
I'm an even more, an even more effective player, especially for someone like yourself, who's, like you said, a really effective third liner.
That's exactly, yeah, exactly like what happened when I got injured. I couldn't describe it better. Yeah.
Okay, perfect. I guess I'll write your biography for you. Yeah. Um, as we continue throughout your career,
Mm,
um, you also had the chance to represent Canada.
yeah.
Could you, we can get into specifics of it, but like more broadly, as someone who's always wanted to represent their country, I would do it for whatever. It doesn't matter. I just want to represent my country.
Yeah.
What was it like to get that call and to get like to know that you're going to be just start with that. What was that experience like for you?
It was like so special. And I remember when I got the call, I was on the bus and I was with my high school team actually, and they called me when I was on the bus, and getting that call and my teammates were all around me. They were all like waiting for the answer. And I remember crying, of course, like I'm so emotional, just like my dad. But I remember like crying, like happy tears, like I finally made it. And having all my teammates there for me to cheer me on, like it was so special. Like the whole bus was so happy. Yeah. I'm like, that's one of my top 5 like best life memory for sure.
So when you found out, again,
Yeah.
you were on the bus, you were surrounded by teammates.
Yeah.
Who was the first person you called?
Oh, my mom, of
Okay.
course. But
And how did
my dad doesn't have a phone.
Okay.
So I called my mom, but it was both my parents. I didn't pick a favorite.
Okay.
Just wanted
Okay.
to say
Yeah,
that.
just
'Cause they're gonna
just
watch. They're gonna watch.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Just to set the record straight.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah. And what was their reaction? I mean, that sounds like a silly question, but what was their
Yeah.
reaction when they heard
Well, and I didn't know, but my brother was home, and my brother is actually the one that was crying this time. We just all cry all the time, but my brother was crying because I feel like my brother is like my best friend. Like he knows everything, and they knew. So I tore my ACL the year before. So like I came back like maybe 4 months before like the camp or whatever.
it?
And we didn't know if I was gonna be able to skate on time for like the world championship, whatever. And he was just crying because he knew how hard I worked to get back to skating so I could make that team. But yeah, oh, they were so happy for me. Yeah, it was special. Again, another great family moment.
Yeah, exactly. Absolutely.
Yeah,
Full of those.
yeah,
Um, yeah. So, again, you had the opportunity, to represent your country. You went to Lake Placid. This is back in 2019. Um,
Mhm.
Also, what was it like to be in Lake Placid? I mean, on the ice, we can talk about that in a minute, but just like, it is I mean, I've only seen it in photos,
I
but it looks beautiful.
love Lake Placid, and it's so ironic because my coach played on the Miracle League, and I think yeah, on the Miracle team, yeah, Mark Johnson. I think it was in Lake Placid, right?
Yeah.
So I feel like it was just like a full circle moment. Yeah, I really liked it there. And what was fun about that team is like, and what's fun about the hockey community is that I made such close friends in like a 2-week like tournament, whatever, and those friends that I made, I play against in college. So I feel like that's what I loved about that tournament is that we made so many friendships and that are still like and we're still friends to this day. Like we knew each other for 2 weeks and we're still talking now, like 5 years later, which I think is so special.
And now, a word from our sponsor. This episode is sponsored by sports nutritionist Melissa Buffunos of MB Performance Nutrition. As a former competitive hockey player turned nutritionist, Melissa's mission is to help the next generation of hockey players optimize their diets and health so they can perform their best both on and off the ice. Ready to dominate on the ice? Melissa's new course, The Hockey Nutrition Blueprint, is available now. If you're serious about learning how nutrition can impact performance and building actionable nutrition strategies based on your unique needs as an elite hockey player, learn more and sign up at melissabufunos.com/course. That's MELISSABOUFOUNOS.com/course. And make sure to use code Rinkside to save $50 off the regular price. Thank you to Melissa Bufunos for sponsoring this episode. And now, back to the show. That's one of the things that, it's one thing to talk about the scores, the games, all those sorts of things, and don't get me wrong, those are awesome and
Yeah,
incredible.
yeah.
But it's like you said, it's also the memories or the lasting friendships that you make
Yeah.
off the ice. Could you talk a little bit more about like the off ice, your experience off ice,
Mhm.
whether it's going for team dinners, or, like whatever it may be. Could you talk a little bit about what that
Yeah.
was like to make those new friendships with people that
Yeah.
you may not have ever played with or played against
Mhm.
before, right?
I actually like don't even remember like most of the games or like most of the scores, but yeah, it's so nerve-wracking at first, but you're kind of forced to be friends. It's like we're gonna be together 24/7 for the next like week. Like let's just be friends. And I remember going on walks, we had team activities. I remember what did we had a team dinner. So when they made like when you made the team, they took the team to dinner. Like it was like a steakhouse and it was just so fun. And oh, I like met some of my best friends there, which is crazy in 2 weeks.
2 weeks,
Cause
yeah.
yeah, it just and the emotions are just so high and you're all just so excited to be there. It's so much pressure. Oh yeah. But those friendships will forever be one of the best like friendships I've ever made in sports.
Which is wild again. Like you said, it's 2 weeks.
2 weeks, 2 weeks, and we're still talking 5 years later. Like it's
Yeah,
crazy.
that's
Yeah.
amazing. Shifting back to on ice, could
Mm.
you like how do you think your time playing, I'm going to say internationally, but playing for Team Canada, um, helped to shape your game moving forward? Now, obviously, that was a few years ago, but
Yeah, yeah.
still, how do you think it, just being able to see that level of,
Mm.
competitiveness, the size, the strength, all those sorts of
Yeah.
things, how do you think that it maybe helped to maybe make you realize, like, okay, this off season, I might want to
Yes,
focus on this
yes.
thing,
I was about to say, it was a wake-up call. I was like, "I need to hit the gym. Like, I need to put up some muscle because it was so physical and so fast." And when you play in your high school, like your little high school, you think you're like good and like you think like, "Oh, like, I don't need to like today I can take a day off today, like it's fine." But then when I made the team and I realized how like holy shit, like there's some good girls out there. Like I need to go home and put in the work. And it was a wake up call and it was like eye opening being like, okay, like there's so many girls that play hockey in the world, like not just my little like hometown, like high school. So yeah, it was a wake up call and I definitely had to change my game and being like, okay, like I'm gonna start playing D zone. I'm gonna start going to the gym. Yeah. So I think for my development, like it was perfect. It was needed for sure.
And speaking of your development, now let's get into where you're currently at. Which, in fun fact, you've been in at Wisconsin for more than the 1 year that I had mentioned off the top. Um, but yeah,
That's so
got to
funny.
embrace the mistakes, right? You just got to lean
So
into
funny.
them.
Yeah.
So before you got there, you attended Stansted College. You also
Mhm.
were a part of the Etobicoke Dolphins
Yeah.
program for a brief period of time as well. Kind of, you know, um, where you were also captain, by the way. Sorry, that was with Stansted.
Yeah.
Um, how do you think, that your time at Stansted and then through the Etobicoke Dolphins program, how do you think that really helped set up your time now at Wisconsin?
So Stansted was the perfect transition from like m- middle school, is it? Elementary school to high school, especially because I knew I wanted to go play in the NCAA. So I knew I had to learn English, but I didn't want to go too far from home. So Stansted was like it was 2 hours away. So my parents could come whenever if I needed something. And then it was an English boarding school, which was perfect. So I learned English there actually in grade 8. And then played there for 4 years, I think, but I knew I needed something more before going to college. I feel like I had reached my maximum potential there. Like I got the most out of it. It was good. I was away from home in the dorms, but I knew I needed something more to get me to like that college level, and going to Etobicoke, like that junior hockey was what I needed. Like Joe, I think you interviewed Joe.
I
Yeah.
did. Yeah. Yeah.
He treated us like professionals. Like we were treated like professionals, and that's what I needed to take the next step for Wisconsin. And I'm so happy I made that decision, because I feel like I came to college so much more prepared because of the way he was like treating us and like coaching us. Yeah. So I feel like my journey was just so smooth, and everything just came right in time, and everything was just perfect. Yeah.
Yeah, everyone that I've spoken to, and I can attest to this as well, just based off of the conversations that I've had with Joe. But Joe is his approach to coaching is, I think, I'm going to say it's unique,
Mm-hmm.
because it's different than the old school regime, so to speak,
Yes.
right? Where his
Yeah.
focus is really about, he wants to get to know who you are and sort of what makes you tick, what you as Marianne Picard need
Which
from
is so
him.
refreshing. Like
Exactly. Yeah.
we're not a number
Yeah.
on the roster. Yes.
Yeah.
And he doesn't treat us like girls. Like
Yeah.
he treats us like a hockey player, which I love. Like we're not like, because sometimes like girls don't get the same treatment as guys, because like I mean we're not gonna make millions, but he treats us like this. Like this is our like our like what makes us like gives us the purpose. Like this is
Yeah.
like our thing, and he treats it like so. Oh, I love Joe. Yeah.
Yeah,
And he's
that's
probably gonna be watching this, but I love Joe more than anything.
no. And listen, I've had, like I said, a few conversations with him, and even I'm inspired. And he didn't
I
coach
know.
me on the ice, so
I know. Like to have a male coach care so much like that. Oh, we need
yeah,
more people like
that's
that for
that's
sure.
actually really interesting that you mentioned that, because I think the default, especially right now, the default is that, especially now, and we're going to get into the PWHL in a moment, but with the PWHL, or with any sort of professional or women's team in general, the perception is that you need to have a woman behind the coach or behind the bench. Don't get me wrong. Absolutely, we need a lot more women behind
Yeah,
the
yeah,
bench.
yeah.
So I just want to say that quite straight up and
No,
blankly.
I agree.
Yeah. But it's always great if it's going to be a man, that man treats you like an athlete,
Yes,
right?
yes. Not just like oh, like it's a hobby for us. Like
Yeah.
no, like we, especially with the league now, like we can make it as a career,
Yeah.
which
Yeah.
I feel like will help for sure the way people view like high school women's hockey.
Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah. Yeah. Because it's going to start a lot earlier, especially without any.
Yeah.
Right now, there's no development leagues for the PWHL. So those development leagues are essentially high school and
Yeah,
collegiate,
exactly.
right? So, yeah, it's always great to hear that someone like that had such an impact on your career, both at that moment, but also as you continue your collegiate career.
Oh, I still talk to him, yeah. And it's nice to know that like someone will always be there. Like if something happens, like I can call him, text him, and he'll be there.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So speaking of Wisconsin,
Hmm.
what went into a lot of the time now, we're seeing, it's a little bit less so now, but more often than not, Canadians, they'll continue their hockey career in the States.
Hmm.
So could you maybe talk a little bit about what went into the decision to attend Wisconsin, and then at the same time, maybe I'll put you on the spot here a little bit, but what made you decide to go NCAA rather than staying in Canada and U Sports?
Ooh, that's a good question. I'm
Thank you.
trying to be. I'll think about that one because,
Yeah.
well, I knew why I picked Wisconsin. Well, I committed like back in the days. There was no rules about when you could commit, so I committed in grade 9, which was pretty early. And Wisconsin was always like in my top 5, but I knew Wisconsin was a safe bet because like committing so young, you don't know how the team's gonna look like in like 6 years when you arrive. But Wisconsin was always in the top 5. Like for the past like 20 years, it's been in the top 5 best teams. So I knew going there was a safe bet. And then so when I visited, I just love the campus. Like I don't know if you've seen it, but there's 2 lakes. It's like a city, but it's also like outdoorsy, and the coaching staff was just so welcoming, and it made it. I knew, like the day I visited, I think I after the visit, I told my mom, I was like, I'm coming here. Like it was an easy pick, and it's so true. And I remember my coaches being like, don't worry about it. Like you'll know when you find your school. Like just go on many visits, don't worry about it, because you'll feel it when like this is like where I'm supposed to be. And Wisconsin felt like, okay, like this is where I'm supposed to be. Yeah. So,
Okay.
and then I don't know why I picked the NCAA route. I just feel like I'm trying to be nice. I think the level of play here is a bit more my style, which is more fast paced. I feel like back home is mostly like it's Canada, I think, is more physical, and here it's more like fast paced. So I think it was a better decision for me to come here. Yeah, because I feel like it aligned more with my style of playing.
Yeah, and I think especially because you committed, so I honestly didn't realize you could commit that early. But you committed, like, I would say arguably now U Sports is definitely a lot better than it was, 6
Yes,
years ago or
yes,
something like that.
yes.
Um
I feel like yeah, now both are pretty equal, but back in the
yeah.
days,
Yeah.
yeah, I feel like it would like it. Yeah,
Well, and especially, you said it, but Wisconsin, not a bad hockey school to attend. So,
yeah,
um, could
yeah.
you maybe, just knowing the history that,
Mm.
that university has, could you talk a little bit about what it was like to be like, oh no, like now I'm here and like I'm a part of hopefully continuing the tradition of success.
I know
What was
it's
that
like
like for you?
it's like not pressure, but like we kind of have pressure. Like wearing the same jersey, like Hillary Knight, Sarah Nurse, like Brianna Decker, like Emily Clark, like wearing the same jersey that they once wore is like, okay, like we gotta win this year. Like you can't just like have like when you play in Wisconsin, like you can't lose. Like if you lose, like everybody knows, and I know like all the alumni are always watching. Like when we play Minnesota, like people will like alumni will come and watch. Like you better show up, which is like it's pressure, but I love it. It's like, yeah, like this is big. Like every game counts. Like you can't just like slip a game. Like if you lose against like a shittier team, it's like embarrassing. Like
So then, with that kind of in mind, how do you think? And I appreciate it. I think there's certainly a lot of pressure when it comes to
yeah.
continuing those traditions, right? Especially, if it's an up and coming program, that's like, okay, good. Like we still
Yeah.
want to win, but at least we're moving in the
Like
right
it's
direction.
yeah.
You're hopping onto a moving train, you know?
Like if you lose, like yeah.
Yeah. What do you think that's, over your time there, what do you think that's done for you as an individual, both on and off the ice? That, not focusing so much on the pressure, but just being a part of such an illustrious university and
Oh my
program.
god. I think what's so cool about Wisconsin is that like even the alumni like they loved it so much. They always come back, and they're always there like around, like, and you can always ask them like questions. Like it's like we have like it's like this whole community, and even when you graduate, you're still part of the like Wisconsin community, which I think is so special. And I think that's what like that has helped my development, because I've seen like the older girls like giving me advice, and like I feel like we just all help each other. And I think that's like what's so special about Wisconsin, and it has helped me a lot as a hockey player in person, to just be surrounded by like-minded people that like are motivated and like want to do good and be good, you know. Yeah,
So what was, I guess, and that's a great answer. And
yeah,
I
yeah.
have a feeling that might play into this. Um, you know, could you maybe talk about just like what was it like for you to make the transition? We talk about transitions between programs, but
Mm.
now we're talking about transition going from Quebec all the way to Wisconsin. What was it like to, make that it's one thing to visit, but it's
Yeah,
another
yeah,
thing to
yeah.
like, oh, I'm here for the next few years. Um,
Yeah. No,
what was that like
yeah.
for you?
It was kind of scary. Like I remember the first day I was like, okay, like I'm here for 4 years. Like I can't just call mom and she can like drive and come see me. Like it was it was hard, but the team is so close knitted that like I forgot how like far away from home I was. Like everybody just helps each other, which I think made the transition easier. And then on the ice, it was tough. Like the girls here are good. And I remember like there's people skating 2, 3 times a day, and I was like, okay, like if I want to play, like I need to put the extra work, which I think is such a healthy culture in a way, because it's not competitive. We just like all want to be good. So like people will go in the shooting room, people will skate twice, people will lift twice. Like so it just being surrounded by good people forces you to be good and to be better. So that transition was definitely hard because I had to like be like, okay, I need to put extra work even more. Like I thought I was doing a lot, but these people are doing even more. So it's just like you're just all trying to outdo each other, which I think is a healthy culture, and that's how you get better. And that's what makes Wisconsin so good. We push each other to be better, yeah.
Yeah, I was just going to say that's how you build a winning culture, right? When you're
Yeah.
always constantly pushing yourselves or one another, but you're doing so like you can't sustain that if you're not doing it in the right way, right? Where it's
Yeah,
positive
yeah.
reinforcement. It's not like a drill sergeant's in there or whatever
No,
kind of
no,
like
no.
that's not that you can't build sustained success. And I mean, Wisconsin hashtag sustain
Yeah.
success. So
Yeah.
um, so
I think so.
yeah. As we, let's, we've kind of talked about your career, where it started or how it started. You're attending Wisconsin now. Now let's look forward. Okay, looking forward, you finally have a professional league that you can look forward to, right? Rather
Yes.
than um,
Amen.
what's been such an unfortunate situation in that most often women who wanted to continue their professional career, it was you had to go overseas, like there
Yeah.
was no other option,
No.
or you had to then fall back on whatever I say fall back on whatever it was, whatever your degree was, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
That's those were basically the two routes. You could get into
Mhm.
coaching, those sorts of things, but if you wanted to continue playing, you had to go overseas.
Yeah.
um, so I guess just kind of, speaking broadly for you, Marianne Picard, what
Yeah.
does it mean to be able to look at the PWHL and to see something that you could be a part of that when you get there, it's already like the success has been off the charts.
Yeah. Yeah.
What does it mean to you to be able to look forward and see that?
It's such like a weight off your shoulders because like I used to my freshman year and sophomore year, the league wasn't out yet. And I remember like playing and being like, okay, like I have 2 years left and then it's done. Like or like it's either I make the national team now or I can never play hockey again. It was like I felt like I was like time crunch. Like I need to make it, I need to make the national team now, or else like those are my last 2 years playing hockey. But now that we have the league, it's like, oh, like yes, like I know I can still play hockey if I want to. It's just like pressure off my shoulders. And talking about the national team too, like for people like me who were injured or like that were like late bloomers, like the league offers like like an equal playing field for people that like maybe like scouts didn't see in college or whatsoever for many reasons. And like it gives people the chance to be like to all play at the same league and the same level. So I feel like, and even watching the league this year, like I saw some good players that I've never heard before,
Yeah.
and like some national team players that I've never heard before, but because of the league, they were able to like get exposure, which I think is what brings the league, like what's so special about the league and what's good about the league is that it brings exposure to players that we've never like heard of before. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. I agree. And let's talk about your impressions of this first season. Like, what was it like? We could there are a couple of different ways we could look at this, but I mean, just from a fan's perspective,
Hmm.
what was that like? And then, you saw more physicality, which is, I think,
Yeah.
like
I love
incredible.
it.
Yeah, absolutely. So I guess then that I almost answers the question, but what do you think about the physicality and how your style of play may line up with the style of play in
I
the
love
PW?
the physicality. Sorry, my English is hard sometimes. But yeah, I really like it. I think it makes it entertaining, and I think my play can go well into it too. Yeah, keeping it simple. I feel like not trying to be too fancy is good with the physical like of the PWHL. So I'm excited about that. And yeah, like watching this year was so fun. I like so many times like our team we had like a watch party. So the whole team after class would just come in the locker room and we would just watch and it felt like surreal to like be watching our league. Like not the NHL, nobody else, our league, and it was so fun. Yeah. And then watching the draft too and like seeing some of my teammates getting drafted, that was so special.
Oh yeah, let's talk.
Yeah,
That it totally escaped me. Yeah, let's talk about that for a minute.
yeah.
What was
Rita
it like?
Curl, yeah. Anna, I remember the whole team was watching the draft, and then they're actually here right now getting ready for their like camp,
Hmm.
like whatever. But yeah, that was very special to see like a teammate get drafted, and maybe like we'll be teammates again one day
Yeah.
if we get drafted in the same team. So I think that's special. Yeah.
So I guess then, seeing your teammates getting drafted, that probably adds another layer of like not that you weren't clearly weren't motivated enough already, but that
No,
adds another layer of that motivation where
yes.
it's like, I saw you get drafted.
Mhm.
How awesome of an experience that was. I want to be in your shoes one day.
Yeah. Oh my God. It helps for sure. And even like for little girls, like for everybody, I feel like now that the league is a thing, everybody's just gonna up their game because everybody wants to make it. Like I want to make it. I want to make it now. Like and if I know my teammate made it, then it's like okay, like I can do it too.
Yeah.
Like yeah, for sure. No, it's good. I'm so happy about it.
Yeah, same.
Yeah.
So no, and that's fantastic. And I think it's long overdue to finally have
God,
a
yeah.
professional women's league that's sustainable, that's going to be here for years to come, that was just so widely accepted and appreciated. Like I've said this a million times and I'll say it until I'm blue in the face, but attending a PWHL game, and I was fortunate enough to attend a bunch of them, was single-handedly, not even close, the best sporting
Oh,
experience I've ever had. And that
oh,
goes
I'm
for
glad.
any sport. I've seen basketball, baseball, NHL, all that
Um,
sort of stuff. It doesn't even touch it. It's
I'm
just
glad.
the most incredible.
The fans are crazy. I'm so happy.
Yeah, they are, and their signs are great. They're so passionate. So I'm excited for you and what this will mean for
Thank
your
you.
continued
Yeah, me
career.
too.
As has become a tradition
Yeah.
on this podcast, I'm hopeful that you're as excited about this as I am. This is going to be
Oh boy.
what I always say. I always dub this as like it's a scientifically proven test to
Okay.
really get to know Marianne Picard. This is developed by the crack team here at the Rinkside Rundown
Oh
podcast.
boy.
It's just my dog and I, but we work really hard on this.
Bring it.
Yeah, so I'm just going to ask you some super chill questions, hopefully, and then we're going to get to know you a little bit more.
Okay.
Okay, ready to
Sounds
ready to?
good.
Okay, perfect. Let's
I'm
kick it
ready.
off with what are you most proud of from this past season?
God.
Start with the hard hitting questions, and then it's
Yeah,
all
those
uphill
are
from-
such hard questions. I was expecting like, what's your favorite color? Okay.
Yeah, no, we'll get into that in a minute.
When we won 6-0 against Ohio State in the WCHA final, I think that was the proudest I've been of myself and of the team all together. Yeah.
Yeah,
That's
that definitely would that's a good memory or
yeah.
something to be super proud of. Yeah, that's a good one. Um, I think you've kind of alluded to this a little bit, but let's go back there again. Growing up, and maybe even now, who would you say has had the most impact on you, both on and off the ice?
Oh, I'll say my dad.
Okay.
But my mom is for this like schooling part and like life part, but for hockey, my dad. I don't want my mom to be sad, but my
No.
dad.
Yeah, they're both very
Yeah,
they're
yeah.
equal, but just in different ways.
Exactly,
That's totally
exactly.
fine. That's totally fine. Um, what now that we're in the off season, this is a really unique opportunity to be able to find out what is it like to be an athlete or a hockey player in the off season. What does your off season look like in terms of training, in terms of meals, all that sort of stuff? Like how do you approach your off season?
Um, I love the off season. Like it's probably my favorite part because you can feel yourself get better. Like during the season, you just like mostly just try to maintain, but during the off season, that's when you can get better. Put on muscle for sure. There's a nutritionist here, so I met with her. We work out and we work out at 6 a.m. and then we skate right after, and then some girls work. I don't work this summer, and then we have school too. So this off season is mostly just like putting on muscle, maybe like leaning out and like eating healthier now that like you have the time to cook at home
Mhm.
and hang out with the like your teammates because the freshmen are on campus now, so you're just like all trying to like learn about each other. Yeah, I love the off season. Yeah.
Fair. Um, Speaking of food, what is your go-to pregame meal?
Ooh. When I play at home, I usually have a bagel with eggs and cheese and sometimes like smoked salmon. I love a
Oh,
good bagel.
oh,
Yeah,
okay.
because then you get carbs, protein, and it's like kind of light to digest. Yeah, a bagel. I know most people say like pasta, but I think a good bagel.
Yeah, I'm not gonna lie to you. I was fully expecting you to say pasta with chicken.
No,
So
people always say that.
yeah, I always think about taking this question out because I'm assuming that's what the answer is gonna be. Although I
No.
have received um one time it was pasta with chicken and Alfredo sauce, and they also mixed in pesto sauce. Apparently that's great. I haven't tried
Alfredo
it yet.
sauce before a game.
Yeah, I know. I was like, that's
I'd be on
bold.
the toilet for
Yeah,
sure.
I know. I wouldn't be able to make it, and I don't even have to skate. Um, During the season, who
Um,
owned the dressing room music and what was played most often?
um, last year I think was Katie, number 24, and the most played song I think was Swag Surfing, which I hate that song. But our winning song was actually Adele. Winning song was Adele Set Fire to the Rain.
Oh yeah, okay,
A
that's a
good
good one.
one.
That's a good
That
one.
was a
Yeah,
good one.
yeah,
Yeah.
good pick. Did you already have that like queued up? Like, did you already know exactly what song it was going to be if you won, or
Yeah.
did? Okay,
Well,
um,
we picked it during the summer,
okay.
and then yeah,
I was gonna say if somebody picked that like on the spot, like bold,
I
and
know.
like just like last minute, just choose that song.
And
We're
then
committed now.
when we lose, like we play "Someone Like You" by Adele.
Oh, okay. So at least
Yeah,
consistent with the Adele.
yeah.
Yeah, there's a
I don't
theme
know
there.
why we're such big Adele fans, but yeah,
Apparently.
yeah.
Speaking of music, if you could listen to only one song for the rest of your life, what would it be, and why? Now, I always say the caveat to this is it doesn't have to be playing all the time, but when you go to listen to a song, it has to be this one.
Ooh, that's so hard.
I know. Yeah, I told you this is
Oh,
a scientifically proven test.
yeah, this is tough. Oh, it's probably a song from a French artist that I'll say in French. It's Les Cowboys Fringants.
Okay.
That's the group, and the song would be L'Amérique qui pleure. So it's like a song that like, and oh, I love that song. It's every time my family and I get together, we listen to it in the car. So if I could listen to it all day. Yeah, that's a good
Okay.
song.
Okay,
Yeah.
great. That's good. Good, solid pick. What's something that is on your bucket list that you'd like to check off?
I want to go to Japan so bad.
Wow, no
Wow.
hesitation on that one. I should have asked why.
I love their culture. Everybody's so clean, so polite. The food is good. I love Japan, and I'm mad because my world championships were in Slovakia, but the world championships before me were in Japan. So I missed Japan by a year. But yeah,
By that much. Yeah, and
I know.
I love sushi, and there's no better place to get sushi.
It's my favorite meal. I
Yeah,
know.
yeah.
Yeah.
What's something that people may not know about Marianne Picard?
Ooh, damn. I'm a pretty open book. Not gonna lie. Let me think.
Like a hobby that maybe people don't know about,
Mm,
or you're actually a great singer, or you're you know
mm. I'm actually a nerd. Most
okay.
people might not know this. My close friends know I'm a nerd, but I like Legos, puzzles. I love going to school. love going to school. Probably my favorite thing to do. Yeah. So I think that's the thing people don't know about me, but I enjoy school a lot.
Okay. Are you
Yeah.
currently working on a Lego? Like a
Yeah.
Lego set? Yeah.
Yeah.
What are you currently working on?
I've been obsessed with the cars. Like cars. So I built a Porsche last week, and now I'm building a McLaren car.
Oh,
I
nice.
just think they're cute. They're cute to like hang in your room, you
That's,
know.
I was just gonna ask if that's how you're gonna have everything set up.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's fair.
Yeah.
That's fair. Yeah. And lastly, what is something that motivates and inspires you both personally and on the ice,
Oh my God.
or in the classroom as well?
Something, oh wait, can you repeat the question? That's a tough one.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, like I said, hard hitting questions. What I like to balance them so it's both like easy ones
Yeah.
and like a little bit more of a thoughtful one there. What is something that motivates and inspires you both personally as well as professionally, but that can be that can be on the
Mm.
ice or in school as well?
Something that motivates me, like what like drives me and like what gives me like energy is like helping and like being with others, like serving others, like that, like it. Oh, and I think like I want to work in the healthcare like field, and I think just helping others is what drives me. Like in school, like I just love being with other people. I just love collaborating. I love hanging out with people. I feel like that's what's like motivates me to do like anything. Like at the rink, like I'm happy to go to the rink so I can see people and like get better with people. Like I like going to school because then I can like discuss with my classmates. So I feel like that's what motivates me is like people. I just love people.
Yeah, well, I can attest to that because you've been probably one of the most enthusiastic guests I've had on the show, and it makes for great conversation. So absolutely, I think that definitely rings true there.
Yeah, yeah.
All
People
right.
motivate me.
Yeah. Well, it's unfortunately that time of the show where we have to say goodbye. But I wanted to say how much of a blast this has been. This has been such
That's
a great
fun.
time. Good,
Yeah.
I'm glad. And I just wanted to say thank you so much. Obviously, you're working your tail off at university, both on and off the ice. You took some time to hang out with me today, and I just wanted to say thank you so much for that. It's always a pleasure. So this has been so much fun. I wish it didn't have to end, but unfortunately it
I
does.
know.
Yeah,
Thank you for having me. I had so much fun. I appreciate it.
absolutely. And there you have it, folks. For Marianne Picard, I'm Chris Sinclair, and this has been the Rinkside Rundown podcast. Cheers.